Ladies and gentlemen, those of you here with us and those of you joining via live stream, on behalf of the Business and Management Department here at Vorarlberg University of Applied Sciences, I'd like to very warm welcome you to this evening's lecture by Tom Flierekes about the metaverse. The talks and the topics in Blickpunkt Wirtschaft, and now it's number 51, they are always thought-provoking and they're always very inspiring. And today's event is a cooperation between Blickpunkt Wirtschaft and also the Startup Stube, our startup center here at Vorarlberg University of Applied Sciences. My name is Magdalena Meusburger. I'm the co-founder of the Startup Stube, which I started together with Thomas Metzler, and we are running it together. And we are also members of the Department of Business, where I teach and lecture in the field of entrepreneurship and innovation. And today, it's my big privilege to guide you through the event. So what's the plan for this evening? We will have Tom's talk. Afterwards, there will be time for questions, so please save your questions until the end of the lecture, and you have the opportunity to enter your questions. To express my gratitude to those ones who managed this event behind the scenes. And that's Michaela Kietmann, who did all the organization. That's our dean, Markus Ilk, who's the host of this event. And that's the technical team there behind the scenes. Gerold Vögel and Hans-Jörg Capella, who are supporting us excellently and making sure that the live stream is working and that we have this beautiful setting. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before I invite the big star on the stage, I'd like to give you a brief overview of his biography. So Tom Flierekes, he's the dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology at Karl de Groot University of Applied Sciences. That's in Antwerp, in Belgium. And he's living and exploring digital society since he graduated in commercial science with an additional degree in strategic communication. Did I say this right?
Perfectly.
Yeah. And then he's living this fascination for digital things, and that brings him all over the world. So he's teaching and traveling to South Africa, teaching here with us at FHV since 11 years it's now. Yeah. So you started in
2011.
2011, yeah, that was your first year here at FHV.
A lot of snow then. A lot of snow.
A lot of snow then? That brings us to the other point, because he's an excellent snowboarder. He and his whole family, I was impressed, yeah, they're excellent snowboarders and skiers, and they like to spend their holidays here in Vorarlberg as well. And another point I want to mention, that you are the founder of Flat World Business, and that's where you assist companies and organizations in Belgium and also abroad to create value in the digital world. Tom, thanks for being here with us, and now it's my pleasure to invite you to the stage.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. What can I add to that introduction? Thank you for having me. I do feel a bit of part of the furniture of VHV already after 11 years, so furniture which can be taken in or out, maybe in the future virtually. We'll see where the metaverse takes us. This is me. I think this summarizes everything Magdalena said. Who am I, what I stand for, what I love doing. And I want to take you to what I call the third phase. I'm already there, that third phase. And it started in 1995, where computers entered our living rooms, and we got connected onto the internet, where we got informed. You could go there, get information, everything was on there. But that's changed. 12 years later, we got mobile, thanks to this guy. my good friend Steve Jobs, who introduced us the smartphone, some external memory which glues to our hands right now, which we cannot live without. I forgot I should have bought the stock market at the time, but hell, I just kept on teaching. But that changed our lives, the way we are interacting with each other, the way we are working. And this is a popular image we see all the time online or in the streets. People never look up anymore. They're always looking down to what's happening on that screen. And probably, yes, she was watching Facebook or any other social media, or she was working. But that's where we are today, on top of the S-shaped curve of the second phase of mobile technology. Today, we are in a world where digital is normal. When I hear people talking about we should think about the new normal of digital, then I say we are in a digital normal world. It's not the new normal. It's the normal world where we don't talk about digital natives anymore. We're looking for AI natives. We're looking for probably metaverse natives in the future. So what's happening then, the third phase? And that's where it gets interesting. And that's what this talk is all about today, is about the web became smart. AI technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, gave us this crazy world where we can turn to and do something else. So we need to shift away from that Web 2 perspective. And looking at technological point of view, Web 2 gave us reading and writing. We as customers had the ability and the power to interact directly with companies, organizations, which was at that time a revolution. We became really interactive. We made sure that it was platforms, we were attracted to them. And the major platforms we all know, Facebook, Google, Amazon, are all platform companies where we really are sucked in and working with nowadays. And yes, the cloud, we know the cloud. We put stuff in there, we take stuff out of there. That became normal. And in this world, everything is quite centralized on those limited platforms where we are together. The third phase, Web 3, changes everything. Still reading and writing there, but also ownership. And that's new. In the digital world, you can own stuff, which was, until phase 2, normal in the real world. Now you own something in the digital world. That's new. Secondly, virtual economies. We are going into some sort of virtual world where we can be somebody, or pretend to be somebody. Living in networks, and that's the evolution over time, combining all the different networks we are part of. And the cloud became the blockchain cloud. For a couple of years, we're talking about blockchain as a system where we have all those certificates as a decentralized world together. And eventually decentralized, as I mentioned. And the ideal world is the idea what we had when we founded the web. 1989 was the idea also to have everything decentralized, where you could be one person in one network, take everything with you, go to another network. Now today it's really hard because you always need to log on with a different profile. You cannot take everything from one network to another. In the ideal world, Web 3, everything is decentralized and you can take it away, take it along with you across the different universes. And I want to zoom in on a few topics which I think are relevant to talk about the metaverse before we dive into what is the metaverse. We need to talk virtual economies because the metaverse we think about is always virtual economies. And virtual economies, we need to discuss what is virtual. This is the real world. And I know people are watching online as well. And then the definition is, what are those people doing online? Is this virtual? Is this real world? For me, people watching online, using the live stream, are also in the real world. Real people in the real world. Because the virtual world is the complete opposite. Meaning, we create avatars, we create a digital self in a virtual world which is not really existing, just zeros and ones. And between that real world and virtual world, we have what we call a continuum, the extended reality, which combines real and virtual worlds in a human-machine interface. And I don't know, the future eventually might become that in that virtual world we will have a human-machine interface, that become those cyborgs from the Terminator movies, that man and machine collide, and then the real world is combined in that virtual world. But today, we're not there. We really have the real world. It's always nice to look at real people. Teaching again like today in a classroom at FHV gives me more energy than just talking to a screen. That's who we are as human beings. In between, we have the augmented world, the augmented reality, where we can add stuff in the real world. And that's where we are right now, to bring things out, to create stuff. And to understand that there's a continuum there between real and virtual. When is something virtual? Well, when you really are in that area where everything is just really virtual. And that continuum is really important to understand. Is this new? No. This has been existing for over 50 years. Virtual reality is no new technology. It just became affordable. The setup in 1989, which you're looking at, cost $2 million. Today, you can buy an Oculus Rift for $299. That's cheap. It just became affordable for us, for customers, to get into that virtual world. And when it's getting affordable, it's becoming interesting for companies to go to, because then you can create value there for your customers. And yes, you got your Oculus Rift there, but you can even become more cheap with the Google Cardboard and your smartphone. That's enough to go into that virtual world. You don't need much more. It's basic, but you can go there. And why is it so appealing for us, that virtual world? Because it can do stuff that we as human beings can't. Because our senses are limited. And we are watching the elephant's feet right now. And some see the feet dancing up and down. Some don't see them. But that's how our mind works. That's how our brain works. And I always tell my students, unfortunately, we are underdeveloped as human beings. Our senses are underdeveloped. But in a virtual world, that can be overcome. Because in that virtual world, technology takes over and can make the things which are not possible, possible. And the cool thing is, in that virtual world, you can experience things which are barely inexperiencable for you. This is from the movie The Walk, where a guy walks between the Twin Towers in New York. So they create the virtual reality setting. Just 1 meter, you wear the VR headset, and you just walk on a piece of rope. You put the goggles on, and you feel like you're on that skyscraper, between those guys, walking there. And it feels for real. There's put a slight breeze, that you experience the wind on top, but you feel completely disoriented the way you're doing it. And that's how things work. And that's the most important thing is the feet on the ground on that piece of rope. Because everything tactile is important in that reality. When 1989, it was just the virtual reality with glasses in there. Today, we try to make it tactile, because when we see our hands moving, we can grab things, we can open doors, we can start shooter games. Then it gets interesting, because if we cannot use our hands, it's hard. Today, we are really developing our feet in virtual reality, because that's the hardest part. Because our feet have the third dimension. When you step down on the floor, technology finds it really hard to put it in good perspective. But that's the next level we need to take. And Mark Zuckerberg, when he last week or a couple of weeks ago talked about the new version of Horizon, he said, well, we're going to introduce feet in Horizon. And that's the next step, to make everything tangible in that virtual world. So virtual reality is really pushing boundaries of that human perception. Some things we cannot do in real life can be done in a virtual world. And our mind believes that we can do that in a virtual world. You have those shooter games, for instance, where we can walk around for ages, and we feel in virtual we are walking in a straight line, but in the real world we're walking in circles. Because our mind thinks differently the way than we perceive it in real life, in the virtual world. There's a big difference there. Our context changes our perception. As a human being, this also feels so uncomfortable, because it makes it scary. But it gives us some sort of superpowers, which you don't have in the real world. So you can also overcome those limitations from your body, which our body has. Although I'm a good snowboarder, I'm not the best snowboarder. I would love to go into some sort of extreme snowboard contest, which I cannot do in real life, but might do in the virtual world. That will be possible there. That's not possible in the real world. So I can experience that. So technology-wise, we're taking huge steps to get there. And then on the 28th of October 2021, my other good friend, Mark Zuckerberg, took the stage and said, well, this is time to rename Facebook Incorporated. We're going to call it Meta. And that changed the world that day, apparently. And if you just looked at the App Store, just one more time, you see the metaverse or the term meta popping up everywhere. A lot of companies started using meta as a term because Mark Zuckerberg introduces some sort of virtual space. Was that new? No. He just said, I'm going to call it meta. And now everybody wanted to talk about metaverse. And then that was for me the moment I think, hey, let me start thinking about the talk about the metaverse. Because people are talking about it. At that time, some platforms were on there already. You got Sandbox, Decentraland, were already what we call in the metaverse. Take a look what happened to the stock market price. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. We became rich just overnight. And we see all those articles popping up. Everywhere, people are talking about the metaverse. Metaverse is like really the talk of the town. But all those companies which are on this slide are currently working on stuff related to the metaverse. And you see usual suspects on there. So what happens then, if we see new technology rising and new stuff happening, we go between fear and excitement. I'm a tech optimist, so I'm always on the excitement side. But most people are a bit anxious about technology, because what technology might do to us might be something we cannot think about. But as always, when you look at the metaverse, it's not new technology that's happening overnight. Most of the time, it's out there already. And it's been a toy for a couple of years. And the first toy was launched somewhere 2003. You might recognize completely on the, for your left-hand side, I'm correct, Second Life. You might have played Second Life. The idea was to create an extra universe where you could buy land you could live in. That sounds like a virtual economy. And just speaking there, up until today, 70 million people are still active in Second Life, which is crazy. But they are living some sort of Second Life. And then we got those gaming engines popping up, Fortnite, Roblox, where my son, my 12-year-old, loves to hang out and play those games. And those two platforms, is that the metaverse? No. Is that a form of the metaverse? Yes. That's a world where my son can collide into, play hours and hours if he wants. I don't allow him though, but if you leave him do it, Monday morning, Monday evening he's there. And he's ill today, so he was at home. I don't know what he did because I was here, my wife was out for work, so probably played Fortnite full day. So that was the first metaverse. So we need to discuss what is the metaverse, because people are talking about metaverse all the time. I've been talking about it for already 10, 15 minutes. But what is the metaverse? Semantically speaking, we see two words, meta and verse. Meta is a Greek word, stands for beyond. And verse is from universe. So the metaverse is the beyond universe or something. Fortnite could be the beyond universe. Second Life could be the beyond universe. Definition-wise, you find hundreds of definitions out there. For me, it's important to have a seamless convergence between physical and digital lives. Collide those virtual worlds with the real world, where you create unified virtual community where you can work, play, relax, transact, and socialize. And that's so much more than just a social network, because you can work there, you can socialize there, you can relax there, you feel comfortable there. Yeah? So there's really emphasis on activities. You go to the metaverse to be active. You don't sit down, although my son, when he plays Fortnite, he sits down. But in the metaverse, he's walking around and shooting and killing all those people without the blood, because that's the good thing about Fortnite. There's no blood involved. But also those immersive places where you as a human being can represent yourself. And that's, I think, really important in the metaverse. You can represent yourself in that universe. Crafted by exceptional rise of creators, and that's interesting. I'm going to touch upon that a little bit later. The metaverse is created by a lot of people, by you and me, and it's possible for you and me to create that, and I'll show you how. And eventually, you have room to embed and link content, and then it gets interesting, but you can bring your brand into the metaverse, you can bring your activities into the metaverse. That is hard to do so on Facebook, or you can do an ad there, but you cannot bring your activities there, because you're not really in there as a human being. It's about the experience. I've talked about building the experience, and then you all need those 7 layers. We're not going into that, but it starts off with infrastructure. If you don't have the right infrastructure, it will not work. And yes, luckily, we do have 5G, we do have Wi-Fi, we have cloud, we've got all those technical infrastructure up and running. We're not there yet, we still need evolution. If we want to improve the metaverse, we need to move away from avatars to really represent ourselves as a digital twin. Then we need even more mathematical power in your infrastructure. It gets there. And you move on to, in the end, the experience. And that's what's right now out there. The first steps into that, to create that experience. Games, esports, social kind of stuff. And I was surprised, my son being a Fortnite hero, Travis Scott gave a concert in the metaverse. Travis Scott, I think it's a hip-hop rapper kind of guy. I'm not a fan of him. But he gave a complete experience in Fortnite. So not the metaverse. He joined teams up with Fortnite, created visual himself, and performed there in Fortnite in the game. 27.7 people, 27.7 million people, that's more correct, joined in to see his live performance in Fortnite. So he gave a show, virtual reality show, in Fortnite, and 27.7 million people went there. And a lot of artists followed him. Justin Bieber, deadmau5, Snoop Dogg, they all teamed up, even Warner Music teamed up with Sandbox to create virtual musical experience there. And I call them the second best experiences. Because we cannot neglect that the best experience still is the live experience. To be there with your feet in the mud, the band performing live, too expensive beer, but that's where you want to be. That's the best experience. But the second best experience probably is that metaverse experience, where you put on those goggles, because you're active within that area, you feel like you're present there, you can interact with other people, you feel when you're tactically in there, you feel everything happening, you have the crazy sound as well. It's the second best experience. 21 Pilots there, rock band, you see them performing there in the virtual world. They teamed up with a company who made a Roblox version of them to perform in the Roblox session. And then, of course, what we have right now, the OK experience, when you watch the movie on YouTube. That's how we have experience, the layers of experience. And we add a new layer, the second best experience. And that's possible thanks to the metaverse. I've talked about 2 platforms already. One of them is from Epic Games, Fortnite, and Epic Games is the developer of Fortnite. And to show the difference between the 2 platforms of Roblox and Fortnite, Fortnite is a game platform. It's a 3D game engine where you can create meta-humans. You can build your own character and you can start playing Fortnite. Yes, you can launch your own games, you can put your own content in Fortnite, but you're entering the Fortnite world. And that's different from Roblox, where Roblox, you can look at it like the YouTube for gamers, where you go to have different content, you create your own content, and you launch that in the Roblox world. That's a big difference between Fortnite and Roblox. Going to take you to Belgium. JBC or GBC is a clothing brand focusing on families with kids. That's their prior target. April 2022, CEO from GBC said, well, as GBC, informing and inspiring families in an accessible way is central. So the world of families evolves, so our company needs to evolve as well, and we innovate. Thanks to the digital feed, we're also present in the world of our smallest customers with a unique experience. So they launched their store, as you can see, the JBC store in Fortnite. And kids could go there and play games, which are educational. So a lot of kids went there, and as brand activation, that's nice, it's in your target group. October this year, they went a step further. They opened up their own store, JBC store, in Roblox, so different platform. So they built their own store, and launched it on the Roblox. Yeah? And in that store, they launched the store with Camille. Camille is the Belgian version of Taylor Swift. Not so good, but at least they gave a big concert there. And all those kids were on there. 50,000 kids watched the performance of Camille in Roblox, in the JBC store. At the same time, they launched the collection of Camille, which was made together with JBC. And you could shop there. You could try it on, you could order it and send to your home. It's a different experience. And remember, the second best. I don't know your kids, but my kids don't like to shop. It's a burden taking them to JBC to shop for clothing. I hate it. They loved going to Roblox, though, and start shopping there, because that felt nice, fun, playful. And that's opportunity. Accenture does it differently. When you onboard with Accenture, you go to the end floor, as they call it. And the end floor is, well, a virtual space where all members from Accenture can go to and collaborate and work together worldwide. Also in the metaverse. They have some sort of feed. Not really, but it's there. And then people are watching from home on the live stream. We've been working in teams for the last 2 years thanks to some sort of pandemic. Facebook is launching Mesh. And with Mesh, they're going to add a new layer to the Teams environment. So you're going to get a virtual Teams environment where you can be yourself, not just talk to a screen, but you can really, in that environment, you can be part of the meeting, be tactile and work with that. You can feel the presence, experience things together. That's a different layer of meetings. And that's Microsoft launching that over the next weeks and months. There are 9 megatrends which are shaping the metaverse, I believe. And shaping the metaverse starts either sociologically or technologically. And I want to zoom in on 3 of them. I don't have time to go all 9, so I skipped some slides. I'm just going to zoom in on, I think, the 3 most important ones. And the first one, I think, is virtual mainstreaming. That's the social element. It's you and me as human beings. Those post-demographic customers, your customers, don't want to be defined by age or gender or sex anymore. They all want self-expression. And we see those things happening in the real world. Like with Victoria's Secret, or a trans woman can become a model, or a 16-year-old can be a world-leading climate activist. Everything's got to do with the expression they can make, and the digital expression that is possible today in a digital world. In that second phase, as you can see with this app, you can, well, either be younger or older or who you want to be. It's all about who I want to be, and I've learned that in Asia, in Asian culture, if you post something online, it's impolite not to upgrade yourself. So take away all your rimples, take away all your gray hairs. If you don't do that, that's considered impolite. From Western point of view, that's quite strange. But in Asian culture, it's called impolite. Those technologies available in your smartphones right now, really easy. And always took this guy a Snapchat filter to express himself in a different way. And that's what it's all about. People want to express themselves. And Snapchat is growing again, big time. And we see companies jumping on that one. Inclusion of everyone. If you want to go to United Airlines, you don't need to tick anymore, Mr. or Mrs. You can also say, I'm X. Yeah? This is what is really important for all those people. They want to feel like they're involved. They want to feel they're real. Like MasterCard, they say, we're going to introduce 2 names for people who are transgender. They can use their new name on their MasterCard. That is revolutionary, but the metaverse allows them to take it one step further, because the metaverse gives people beyond limitations. People who cannot walk in the real world can walk in the metaverse. People who cannot see or hear in the real world might be able to see and hear in the real world, in the metaverse, sorry. So that's where, sociologically, we can become somebody else in that virtual world. Now we can discuss if it's right or wrong, or good or bad, but let me take my own example. I would be so cool to do a Red Bull kind of snowboarding thing out of a really steep slope in the virtual world to have the full experience. But when I take my goggles off, still have all my legs and all my hands. Yeah? That's possible in the metaverse. Yeah? So you're going to create a new digital identity. And you're going to need to take time. Who do you want to be? My son loves to be somebody else in Fortnite than who he really is. Eric Schmidt, CEO from Alphabet a couple of years ago, already in 2013 mentioned, well, identity will be the most valuable commodity for citizens in the future and will exist primarily online. 2013. That's in my head for 10 years now. Your identity will be the most important thing in the future. And probably there will be something online. I was at the talk from Facebook, I think it was 12 years ago in Austin, Texas, where a developer from Facebook said the same words. Your identity will be in the future what's the most important thing of value for you. This segment, Fortnite, Roblox, the next step of Horizon or Mesh will make that possible to create an identity which will be really important. What else making it possible are what I call low-code platforms. We're shifting towards more technological stuff. Low-code is there. It's just 2024, Gartner predicts that 65% will be low-coded. And low-coded really means that all the things which you think is difficult to program is easy to do. You don't need to know any coding anymore. And you can say, Tom, what do you mean? Well, let me explain it really easy. In 1985, 6, 7, or 8, we had a computer at our house. And I wanted to write a piece of paper. I needed to write code, Visual Basic, and I need to type code. Then eventually get something on a piece of paper. It looks like a text. 1995 introduced Windows and introduced all those other apps. Programming, building stuff for the metaverse is going to be low code, meaning as easy as using Word and PowerPoint. So you and me are able to do stuff in the metaverse. Really easy. Gartner showing it in the yellow circle, meaning it's already there. And we don't need to underestimate what this really means, because this gives a lot of people a lot of power to create new things. And we saw that already in 2005, 2006, 2007. When you give tools to people, they do stuff with it. A lot of brands, a lot of companies really had a hard time when the first social media platforms came alive. How do we deal with people who are building or interacting with us? Now we give tools to people to develop other stuff. And then you get this. Why is it important? Well, 24% of low-code users started with no experience. They just stopped on there and started developing. 70% of those users learned low-code within 1 month. Meaning, it's easy, it's accessible, it's there for you and me to use. And of course, we cannot go with not mentioning the blockchain technology when we're talking about the metaverse. And I think the most best example of blockchain is NFT, non-fungible tokens. I think that is the most common example. Non-fungible tokens are quite easy, are 100% unique. But if I ask my students, can you explain to me what is a non-fungible token? They go like, that is something virtual. And then, yeah, something crazy or art, or I always try to help them with those two axes. If it's tangible and fungible, you can mutually interchange things, like money. 10-euro bill, we can change with each other. It has the same value. And 10 bills, 10 times the same value. Non-fungible, but in a tangible world, cars, houses, artwork, that's how tangible world looks like. And then we move into what we call the intangible world. Bitcoins, Ethereum and kind of stuff is what we call fungible because they have the same value. One Bitcoin has got a value and the second Bitcoin has exactly the same value. And then you get to the non-fungible tokens. Copyrights, artworks, where you get ownership of because it's on the blockchain, but you own it in the digital world. And that's what a non-fungible token is all about. What does this do? This creates new opportunities again. I don't know how big of a race fan you are, but this is a German girlfriend of mine. As you know, everybody in the presentation is a girlfriend or friend of mine. So also she's a girlfriend of mine. Laura Marie Geisler. I met her in Austin. I met her in Austin last year. No, this year, 2022, where she launched her idea of sponsorship. She's a Porsche driver. And what she did was, normally in a normal Porsche championship, your car is stickered with all those big sponsors, Castrol and petrol brands. She didn't want that. So she launched a completely non-fungible collection of helmets, cars you could buy and possess in the virtual world. She built a community of people who believed in her as a driver. And she really shook things up because she shifted the model of doing race promotion. Yeah? So that's what we do. And then last year, Nike teamed up with, I don't know how to speak about that brand, but it's RTFKT, probably said something else, but teamed up, and RTFKT is a visual agency which builds materials in the virtual world. And they made the Nike version of shoes. And you might not be able to read it really well, but those are specially designed Nikes, only available as non-fungible tokens, so you can buy them in the virtual world. I know how your math is going, but those cost 70 Ethereum, and the stock price of Ethereum, I'm going to briefly speak there, is about 2,000 euros. And this is non-fungible, meaning it's somewhere virtually on the blockchain, and people want to own that. And together with our RTFKT, they also launched Nikeland, a virtual store in Roblox. Already 21 million people visited Nikeland. They even got their own competition there, and they call it Sports Without Rules. And you could do anything in there. And that's how you see how brands are taking their first steps into the metaverse. And like I said, we balance between fear and excitement all the time, because we see amazing opportunities, but also something scary now and then. And I want to leave you with a movie, 1998, if I'm correct, a short scene.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I don't know if you saw the original movie, but that is, for me, the first time we go into a virtual world. I don't know if you would take the red pill or the blue pill, but I'm willing to take the red pill and see what's happening in there, in that metaverse, because we are there in that third phase. We are there in the metaverse as the next phase of the internet, where we try to create the seamless opportunities and experience for humans and organizations. So it's there. I dare to challenge you to go there as well, explore it, and see what can happen. The worst thing that could happen is to get a basketball thrown at you. We will survive probably. But in the meantime, my good friend Zuckerberg is opening a store where you can go into an experience. So we're not there yet in the virtual world, even with Meta opening up brick-and-mortar stores. So it's not really as if we're there yet. And with this, I want to leave you and thank you for being here tonight to go down on a trip in what I think is the metaverse, or could be the metaverse. If you have any questions, feel free to just shoot them at me, and I'll try to answer them. And if not, I'll give you a blue pill.
Thanks a lot, Tom, for this turbocharged talk.
Yeah.
I have the first question, red pill, blue pill. You spoke about fear and excitement. In your point of view, what's the thing we as society need to be careful about when we take the red pill?
Yeah, to be careful about. To be honest, don't be scared. I think that's my main, don't be scared. It's just technology. I'm up for the challenge, to be really honest. Do I have a fear? Yes, I have a fear. When I look at this and I study metaverse, I do have a fear that we become a society behind the screen or within a virtual world, like the Matrix, like the movie shows us. That's my biggest fear, because I don't want to become that. And on a personal note, I do love to travel, so it would be a shame not to travel to Austria anymore, to just teach in person with students here or in other parts of the world, and see you guys in a real room to give a talk like this. So that's my fear, that we turn into a virtual world, and maybe we turn into a person who we are not.
Okay.
Because we can become somebody with superpowers, or that would be my fear, I think.
So we still need to stay true to ourselves.
Yeah.
And do a lot of fear-setting work.
Yeah. My marketing students always get one sentence: there's no on and offline anymore, there's just one customer relationship. Okay. You're the same person on and offline. How does that work in the metaverse? I'm not sure if that concept will work there, because you can pretend to be somebody else in that world, which is a different world. So, yeah.
Okay. Right. So now, are there any questions in the room? I'm taking the microphone. I have one for you here in the audience, and I have another one for Thomas Metzler, who is supporting us in managing the questions via Slido. Thomas, do you have a question for Tom?
Yes. There are two questions that arrived through Slido, and one is how companies should approach that world. So if there are managers in our audience or online, how should they approach that?
Step by step. Don't be afraid. I think this is the time where you can experiment. If you're going to wait until it's perfect, then you're going to be too late, and then it needs to be perfect immediately. Right now, your customer will be happy with your experiment. And that's what we see happening as well with the EBC. They experiment. They started in Fortnite with their EBC store. Was working fine. They did now in Roblox. They did. Go there. See what's possible. Don't wait until you think it's safe to go there. Your customer right now is okay with failure in the metaverse. So that would be my biggest advice.
And maybe one question that kind of relates to that: if they go to virtual worlds, one user asked if there's only Fortnite or Roblox to have like a virtual shop, or what other platforms are out there for companies maybe?
To be honest, I think you got Sandbox, you got Decentraland, you got Horizon World, you got all those different platforms out there. The biggest challenge is by now to go where your customer is. And professionally speaking, I think, personally, I would go into more the mesh environment, which Microsoft is creating, or Horizon World, where Facebook is doing stuff. If you want to go, let's say, more oriented towards kids, and then Fortnite, then Roblox remains a good platform. If you go gaming community, you go there. The challenge for now, and I said when I talked about Web3, I said decentralized. And you could take your persona with you, jumping from one platform to another. That's not happening right now. You cannot take your Fortnite persona into Horizon World, and you cannot take it into Roblox. That's still the challenge. We are waiting for one standard to become reality. And that's why it's so challenging right now. Because there are a lot of platforms out there. That's also the good thing, I think. Experiment. Look at who's your customer, see where he might be present, start off, use low-coding platforms to do stuff, and experiment. And probably you'll move on. Don't think that going into sandbox will be your only entrance into that virtual world. Probably will be another platform within 6 months or within a year. And does that come cheap? Yes and no. Low code is not expensive. It costs money, don't get me wrong. It does not come for free. You need to invest a little bit of money. I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Are there questions here in the room?
Yeah, my question is that if I want to enter in the metaverse, do I need an internet connection, and then I need these glasses? Is this right? And if I have these glasses, how is the technology developing? Isn't it like this that you need every few months a new glasses? Because it seems to me that it's developing very quickly.
We're taking quick steps quite briefly, and you only need this, to be honest. And I did bring my Google Cardboard. I have a Google Cardboard at home. You just fold it, you put it on there, and with headphones which you plug in there, it works. You need nothing more, but that's basic experience. What makes the real experience is that the fact that that it became tactical. And you used to wear gloves, and you need to put machines on your hand, and you should see all the movements in there. There are mounted pieces you can put on top of your glasses, which can see in the room where you're moving your hands. So they capture the movements of your own, and then you get into that space. That's for now. You ask me where we're going to go. My strange prediction will be that within, I don't know how many years, 25, 30, 40 years, we'll talk about the human brain-computer interface. Probably that we have lenses just on our eyes, and we can jump in and out of virtual worlds all the time, if we want. That's where we're headed. And that's creepy. If you ask me what's the chance it happened, 99%. Because how long, I don't know. I may be too old to experience that. My kids might probably jump on, but their kids will for sure. If I see what Neuralink is doing, they're really getting there to tap into our brain, to get new of those materials out there, to get rid of the screen, because now we're limited to the screen. But once we overcome the screen, yeah, then we can go anywhere. And there was a cut slides which is out there, because it's a longer talk. I have a slide in there which shows you how evolution went. In the 80s, we had a computer screen, a desktop, and we had a keyboard. That's how we interacted. Then it became the mouse. Then we came touching. And now we have those glasses ready. Ray-Ban's got the Facebook glasses, we got Snapchat glasses. The next step, and they're already out there, smart lenses, which you can put on your eyes. And then you don't need to think a step further. Then we're going to go into surgery. And we're going to have to become a little bit sort of, is that cyborg? I don't know. But that's where we're headed. Don't pin me on the 25 years. But that research is being done as we speak. So that's dark rooms, Elon Musk kind of stuff. Yeah.
But I'd like to add on that, because internet as a prerequisite, and you spoke about infrastructure, and it needs a lot of computing power. So if I have my lenses, I still need to be in a space where I can access this computer power. So can I do this wherever I am, or will there some countries be left?
Well, to be honest, Austria is letting me down right now. Let me explain you. Mm-hmm. We are connected all the time. We are online. We have the machine with us. It's in our pocket, and I'm connected now to Wi-Fi, but unfortunately when I walk out the building, probably it will be my machine, but 4G doesn't work right now. But we are connected all the time. Connection, we don't talk about we are going onto the internet anymore. We are beyond that phase. When I was young, 1990, I tell my mom, "Hi mom, can I go onto the internet please?" I don't think your kids ask that question. "Hi, can I go onto the internet please?" We're always on, we're always connected. For me, the internet is like oxygen, always around. And if it's not around, I tend to feel a bit like I'm gonna not die, but I'm traveling back to Belgium to Saturdays. I'm gonna go to Switzerland. Roaming is really expensive in Switzerland, so I turn off my 4G. That 1 hour and a half on the train feels like so uncomfortable. And so for me, connection, it's there all the time, 24/7.
All the time, all over.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Even in the Gobi Desert.
Yeah, even there.
Maybe to add to that, so you imagine a future where the internet is always present, and it's the metaverse is like a second world where we jump in and jump out of. Now, can you imagine that having access to the internet will become sort of like a human right?
Mm. Over to politicians in the room, please. I would say yes. And you see that happening right now, where you get strange things like, unfortunately, the war in Ukraine. What happened there, Elon Musk sent his Airlink train over there to get connection going. So, yes, I believe that it's almost a fundamental human right, almost. But we can say the same about electricity and gas, which is quite interesting right now in Europe, quite hard. So, but it will be present all day long, and you feel like you need it. Again, talking about students again maybe, but my students, they got the Maslow's pyramid, and I always say, for you youngsters, you first look at battery life, connection, and then the rest. Yeah? You need to have battery life, connection, and then you're okay to do all the other stuff, but you need to do, so, yes. Short question, short answer, yes.
Yeah, so one question from Slido, and then we have one over here.
So there's like some questions pointing in the same direction, so I would take them kind of as one question. So one user asked if the metaverse is more for younger generations at the moment, kind of. Another user asked how long it will take till it goes mainstream, so that it spills over from the younger maybe to older generation, and if at the end the metaverse even will replace the web as we know it.
Okay, the last part is quite easy. I'm quite sure we're going to jump in and out. So, yes. When? Don't pin me on a date. For now, it's young people because it starts in gaming. Sorry, I'm going to say that again. Gaming is not limited to young people. Maybe someone in the room who's more than 35 years old is also playing Fortnite. There we go. So, it's not limited to youngsters. And I see that's something different than mainstream. Mainstream is when, in an adaptation curve, for me, the laggards join in. The people who are saying, no, no, not me, not me, they find joining, and that most of the time, yes, it are older people, unfortunately. But I see amazing opportunities there. If I look at older people right now, put in elderly homes, they're stuck within in a room, four walls. They cannot move anymore, but they travel the world. How amazing wouldn't it be for them to just jump into that metaverse and experience that all over again without moving the room? And the difference is, it's not looking at the screen, the good enough for now. It's not the same as going to a YouTube movie to see the Gobi Desert, but jumping into that world and experiencing that Gobi Desert as if you're really there. So I see huge opportunities in that virtual world. Again, that's my fear. Will we become only virtual? But the question already been asked, it will take 5-10 years maybe to see those things become mainstream. Facebook launched somewhere 2005, 2011, 2012, it became mainstream. We see now the metaverse, we see Horizon, which has child diseases in there, which doesn't really work perfectly, I think, but give it 3, 4, 5 years. And there will be different systems. And if we have that one standard for decentralization, we can take our personality from the one world to another world, then it gets interesting. My prediction, 5 to 10 years. And that's something I will experience, because I'm not that old yet, I hope.
I have 2 questions. The first question is, do you think all the metaverse will add up to desocializing our society? And the second question is metaverse also an example for it, that the virtual world is speeding up, and I would say the contractual world is lagging behind?
First question, that we need to discuss desocialization. My son's playing Fortnite with 25 people all over the world at the same time. He's joining forces with people he would not even connect with. Again, there's no judging there. I see what you try to say, and then that's my feel of it, because I want to talk to people like you and me talking right now in a real life, but when that virtual reality becomes that real and we can do this conversation in virtual reality, is that desocial? I don't know. So that's the definition about desocializing. The second part was about more the contracting part, how quick is the virtual world evolving, and how does the rest speed up with that? Hard question to answer, to be honest. I think if you just look at it from a legal point of view, you got the blockchain there, where everything can be organized contractually as it should be. On the other side, it's not always adapted blockchain technology everywhere and accepted. So I'm quite sure that it will line out over time, that they will collide, and that's when we jump in and out in different worlds, because they are the same. I'm going to jump back to the snow. I can see myself really imagining the fact I'm going down that steep mountain in Switzerland where Red Bull's having competition, and the next day just be in Austria on a real slope with real snow, because I want to feel real snow, the cold on my hand. And we're not there yet. And that will happen maybe, but I don't know how. So, collision. Somewhere.
Thanks. Oh, it's on, right?
It's on, yeah.
Could we take a moment and get beyond fear or excitement? Wouldn't it be time now, very early in the process, to think critically about the social impacts that this might have? Because it is a big thing that we are, I guess, going to see. I believe that. But like with every big thing, or like it is in the real world, we should have a standpoint, or some thoughts about it, because we will see restructuring of a valuable part of our life, and already Web 2.0 tended to be very oligopolistic. We have very few companies, and I guess what we're seeing now is that this trend will continue. And we have very few companies providing the platforms. They will be ending up rich, and they will have lots of control over the consumers, over the creators. And I guess that's a thing that we have to think about it after the goosebump moments.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. On the other hand side, the train is rolling. Can it be stopped? And again, that's a huge question there. And being a tech optimist, I try to see the positive side. But on the other side, I also see that I can see the dark side. If I look at it from an extreme point of view, I see ourselves just in our own small apartment house, 2 by 2, because we don't need any room, we don't need any more room, going onto a virtual world, never leaving it anymore, sitting on the same platform where Mark Zuckerberg is king and judge and policeman. That's, not Thomas, of course, but that's the extreme on that one side. On that side, you got the opportunity where I mentioned everybody can build metaverse. We have opportunity right now to do it by ourselves. Why not take that chance? If we take that chance, we might stop the other scenario. But if you ask me to be honest, you saw the graph when Mark Zuckerberg says, "Hi, I'm going to Meta," the world jumps, "Hey, we're going to Meta." To be honest, I think it's already too late. We are living in those platforms. The second phase, which I talked about briefly about. And those platforms are there and they attract us. We trust them. They do stuff we want. They deliver. Google, Facebook, Amazon, all the big brands out there. It's hard to beat them. So we're joining them. But then we're getting philosophical. And that's philosophy. What's our world image where we strive for? Are we in control as human beings? Question mark. I don't know. But again, in my class, I always mention the VUCA world. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. That's perfect storm. And on that side, you can say it's vibrant, unreal, crazy, and astonishing. Same 4 letters, most of the time used like perfect storm, you know? Volatile, complex, uncertain, ambiguous, you know what to do, Tom, help us. And then they come in like a consultant, hey, sure, send you the bill. But take a look on the other side. It can also be cool, vibrant, astonishing, unreal. We need to find balance there. But I don't disagree with you. But I don't think I, as a human being, as an individual, have the power to stop it. Let me put it that way. And I can do 2 things. Or I can go to a beach on a desert island, or I can jump on the train. Mm-hmm. Or I can try to move a little rock in the river. But that's my point of view, of course.
Are there any more questions? One more?
What's your personal opinion about having 2 different personalities, like in the real world and online or on metaverse?
In my marketing course, I say to my students, there's only one customer relationship because your customer online, offline is the same person. I tend to take that definition with me in the metaverse. Why? Because I think as a human being a person of flesh and blood, having a brain, I think it's hard to have two identities. I cannot be Tom in the real world with all my limitations and be, I don't know who, Thomas, in the virtual world and be amazing in everything. Because in that virtual world, you're going to need to interact and behave as well. And the moment you're going to jump in and out of that virtual world, at least there need to be some similarities there. So I don't really believe that you can have a second identity there. But I do believe that you can be your augmented self in that virtual world. Things you cannot do in the real world, you can do in the virtual world. But that does not mean you have two identities, although it is possible. But I think mentally, our brains are not capable of doing so. We cannot multitask. We're exactly the same. And yes, ladies, you cannot multitask either. Say that. But I think that's the same idea. If you could do tasks at the same time, and can do identity at the same time. But it's hard to switch from one task to another all the time. So if we switch from one identity to another, that would be really brain damaging, I think. But then, we might augment our brain with technology. It's sci-fi, I know. But the Knight Rider in 1986 was also sci-fi with the car that could drive by itself.
All right. We have some more time to continue our informal discussions then, because we prepared a little reception for you outside there. Thanks, Thomas, for taking the Slido questions. Thanks for this enticing discussion. I just would like to give you a little outlook on what else we have in store for you during the next few months. There is one more event coming up end of January, especially for startups. So the startups who are interested in train in terms of selling themselves, they can join us on the 24th of January. So these workshops are for the startups we are coaching. If you are not part yet of the startups we are coaching and you have a nice business idea, then just approach us and come to us, and we can see how we can assist you. So that's the one thing. Then another thing is we spoke about impact, so that's a community for impact-driven women. Yeah, that's the next one. So here, if you wanna know more about the Startup Stube, if you wanna be informed about Blickpunkt Wirtschaft, then you can sign up for the newsletters. That's this one. So Blickpunkt Wirtschaft with all the events. Startup Stube, if you're interested in what we are doing. And one more thing which we are doing is that FemPower community we started for impact-driven women, where we have trainings and we have also a mentoring network and a mentoring program which we are running there. And that should be the next slide, right? If it's not coming, then I just tell you what would be on there. There would be this affirmative statement, yes, I can do it, or yes, everything can be possible. So that's on there, but we also have the statements out there on the tables, so you can have a drink and then take along the statement card and join us if you're an impact-driven woman. All right. Okay, then thanks a lot to everybody, and let's continue outside and have good discussions.